Hello everyone, Louis Hanzo here, and welcome back to part 5 of What If Bardock Went with Goku to Earth. Now, in our last entry in the series, the Demon King Piccolo arc, well, it was a non-starter. Mostly because Bardock and Master Roshi came up with a plan. It was an interesting alliance, wherein the duo used Bardock's memories of what he saw in the future, thanks to the people of Kanasa's parting gift, to figure out what was coming and to try to prevent it. Using this, they managed to save the lives of Chaozu, Krillin, Roshi himself, and many martial artists that would have been felled elsewise. And another thing that happened is, well, Piccolo Jr., the one that we would know as Mr. Piccolo, never was born. Why? Kami sealed away his darker half with the Mafuba. Now, years later, Kakarot and Chi-Chi have gotten married. Little Gohan has been born. And alongside Bardock and old Gohan, it's an interesting family portrait to be sure. One where if you stare at Bardock's picture a little bit too long, you're pretty sure he's going to beat you up. Now, there's been some changes thanks to Bardock being around. And besides the fact of old Gohan actually getting to see young Gohan being born and being quite honored to hear Kakarot name his firstborn son after him, well, Bardock pushed Chi-Chi to continue her training. In her eyes, she already got the guy. She's already got Kakarot in her life, married to him. What more should she train for? Well, in Bardock's eyes, any human woman capable of such fire needs to continue to get stronger, especially if she wants to keep up with Kakarot. But despite his best efforts, Chi-Chi was still pretty against the idea of Gohan training. She felt that despite Kakarot being a little bit more on the ball in this timeline, her son needed to be smarter than him. I mean, can't really blame that idea. However, Saiyans love to fight and train, so when Chi-Chi was busy or looked the other way, Bardock would grab his son and grandson and run off to train. Now you might be wondering, what has happened with Krillin, Yamcha, Tenshinhan, Chaozu, and Roshi? Well, Bardock pushed them to continue their training. And with Kakarot's cavalier attitude, despite Kami and old Gohan's best efforts, they got together more often to spar, making them all a little bit more sociable and far more powerful. Now, in age 761, we pick back up where the last entry left off, as a space pod arcs across the morning sky and into a field. Now, this just isn't any old space pod, the one bearing the man who was Dragon Ball's ticket to the stars, Raditz. Said Raditz as the space pod opened. So this is the planet Kakarot was sent to. Far too peaceful. Raditz looked around him. So what kind of power levels are on this rock? Raditz flew to the top of the crater and began to look at the field, sighing in dismay. He tapped his scouter, his annoyed countenance quickly changing to one of shock. He saw several power levels that made his eyebrows go up. That was impossible. The powers he was seeing on this rock. 700, 450, 425, 800, 1,000? No wonder why I can't set anything for Kakarot on the scouter. Then again, his power level's probably something decent. Wait. Those 5 power levels close together. He quickly tapped his scouter again, locking onto the signals. 300, 400, 900, 1,800, 12,000! Raditz dropped to his knees, his eyes wide in horror, with the knowledge that his power level was only 1,500. With those power levels staring him in the face, Raditz looked back at his pod and debated. Should he just abandon his mission and just suffer the ridicule from Nappa and Vegeta? I mean, if he could have gotten Kakarot, there'd be 4 of them. But, what am I doing? Muttered the Saiyan, This damn scouter must be broken or something. I should never let Nappa borrow it. Raditz pulled the scouter off and forced it into a reboot, temporarily cutting off his communication. Before running over a check, his power level, accurate. His location, accurate. His pod location, accurate. Meaning that the power levels, especially that massive one, should be gone, right? Oh, you have got to be joking, said Raditz in despair. That power level is still 12,000! Raditz racked his brain over what to do. On one hand, he could call for help, try to hide out. Or maybe he could stealthily assassinate this Titan of power. Or he could run away. This idea of faking his death and hiding out amongst the stars was tempting. But he had no time for what-ifs. Man up, Raditz, he said warily. Go do recon and go from there. You can figure out what you can do from there. With that, Raditz flew away. And the farmer with the shotgun, Raditz's first encounter on this planet we call home, well, he got spared. Meanwhile, back at Mount Paozu, Bardock and Kakarot were trying to teach little Gohan how to fly. And I'll tell you now, folks, an idea of a small child being able to just fly about is probably more than poor Chi-Chi can handle. And speaking of Chi-Chi, her and Bulma were off chatting about their other halves. So Bulma quite annoyed with Yamcha these days, as he spent much of his time training or off playing baseball. But as long as he spent a little time with her, she was okay with it. But Chi-Chi was sympathetic, as she gave Kakarot a sour look inside. The Saiyan was oblivious to his mate's grumbling as he and his father tried to push little Gohan how to fly. And old Gohan, he thought this was hilarious. But as this merry gathering continued, Raditz closed in on them. And as he neared, Bardock and Kakarot froze. They had sensed a power level closing in on them at high speeds, and one they did not recognize. Now you might be wondering, why doesn't Bardock recognize Raditz's energy signature? Well, last time he saw his eldest son, he was relying purely on a scouter. And without that piece of technology, he couldn't tell his power signature from anyone else's. Now, they weren't the only ones who noticed the power signature. Chi-Chi and old Gohan also turned toward it. And while they weren't as strong as the two Saiyans, they were ready to defend Gohan and Bulma. And by Gohan, I mean little kid Gohan, who was scooped up very quickly by his mother. Within minutes, Raditz landed, ready to die if it came to it, and stopped immediately. What he saw was impossible. Standing before him was not just Kakarot, but... You! Screamed Raditz in shock. You're alive? How? Didn't you fall with the rest of our kind? Kakarot looked from the newcomer to his father and back a few times before asking, Father, who's this guy? He seems to know you. Raditz continued his rant, screaming his frustration and shock. How are you alive? Answer me, father! Why are you hiding out on this backwater world like some sort of coward? As Raditz breathed heavily, his eyes bloodshot and glaring, Bardock just sighed, and he walked forward with purpose. The elder Saiyan's eyes, cold as ice, and this stare made his eldest son back up, not even realizing it. But before Raditz could react, Bardock had already ripped the scouter from his head and immediately turned it off, tossing it to Bulma nonchalantly. You want answers, huh? Said Bardock tersely. All right, I'll give them to you, but we can't have Frieza overhear it, though. What? What do you mean? Answer me, father! Father? Questioned Kakarot, walking over. Who is he? This guy's calling you father. Wait, is he Raditz? Bardock looked at his younger son and nodded. Yeah, Kakarot, this is your brother. And he directed his gaze back to his eldest son. You will come here and sit down. You have much to hear. Bulma, go get some tea or something. We'll need a drink. Chi-Chi, take the child inside.
What? I am not some maid!
Shouted Bulma indignantly.
Sure, we made a deal about tech, but still! Kakarot, what is this about?
Chi-Chi held Gohan close.
Who is this guy supposed to be? Is he what that Frieza guy your father was telling us about?
Kakarot cut them both off.
Chi-Chi, do as father says. Bulma, you too. This is something we were waiting for.
As the duo went to task, Raditz watched confused. They have waited on this? Why did they shut off his scouter? And who is the child? As these questions whirled around in Raditz's head, an old human male walked over to him and gestured for Raditz to sit down at a table with him. The table and chairs he didn't remember seeing there moments before. Dumbfounded, he complied, his confusion rendering him incapable of lashing out, especially at being ordered around by this frail-looking old man. 1 hour had passed, and Raditz, Kakarot, Bardock, and old Gohan sat at a table outside the large log cabin that served as their family home. And as they sat in silence, Kakarot was eyeing his brother up and down, committing his sibling's appearance to memory, determined to never forget him. Old Gohan kept a wary eye on the newcomer, but he was watching Bardock intently. As for Bardock and Raditz, they were staring each other down, one with a longing for answers, and the other with the appraising eyes of a father. "All right. Listen well, Raditz," said Bardock, breaking the silence. "What I have to tell you is a long tale, and every word of it is the truth. It is your choice to believe it." Raditz was wary, but replied, "I doubt it as much you could show me or tell me to shock me, father. The fact that you're alive is shocking as is." Bardock just sighed, shook his head, but before he could say anything, Kakarot cut him off.
Trust me, Raditz,
said Kakarot with a very uncharacteristically stern tone.
This will change everything. When he told me, when I turned 18, it was a lot to take in. You can trust our father.
Raditz looked at his brother and then to his father, and Bardock began his tale. "All right, listen up, boys. This story begins when my squad took the mission to Kanasa." As Bardock spun his tale, Raditz's face went from one of wary doubt to one of disbelief to one of sorrow, and finally to an unreadable mask. It was a lot to drink in, after all. His mother sacrificing herself, the destruction of Planet Vegeta, confirmed to have been done at Frieza's very hands, and the fact that, well, his father and brother had lived off the grid on this backwater planet. But more so, he was having trouble believing this. He was a skeptical Saiyan, and the fact that his father had the ability to see the future, and that he was utilizing it to control the events around him, preposterous. But, meanwhile inside the house, Bulma and Chi-Chi were watching as the men conversed. Little Gohan was napping in his room, and would be asleep for some time. And as they stared out the window, Chi-Chi felt more and more anxious.
Bulma, do you think we should take Gohan and leave? Kakarot is never this serious when people show up,
said Chi-Chi worried.
I wondered about that too,
replied Bulma.
I have known him for a long time, and the only time that he got that serious was when someone could pose a threat to those he is protecting. Meaning that this Raditz guy might try to hurt or kill us, and he is strong enough to beat you in a fight.
Chi-Chi looked at Bulma in shock.
This long-haired hooligan is that strong?
She stared at Kakarot and then Bardock and continued.
But if Bardock is out there, we're fine, right?
Bulma nodded her head as she said,
I hope so, anyway. From what I can tell, Bardock is the scariest guy around, other than that Frieza guy he keeps mentioning.
Chi-Chi looked back out the window at the men and whispered,
I hope you know what you're doing, Kakarot.
Outside, Raditz crossed his arms and sat quietly with his eyes closed. He had much to consider with his father's tale completed. What move should he make? If he ran back to Nappa and Vegeta, all he would get is ridiculed and mocked. However, if he aligned himself with his father and brother, they would have to fight Frieza eventually. And as far as he knew, Bardock was stronger than Vegeta. But...
So, said Raditz carefully, your plan of action is just to gather as many warriors as you can together and train to take out Frieza. That's foolish, father. Frieza is stronger than all three of us Saiyans combined. Even if we have Vegeta and Nappa with us, he would roll over us. He would destroy us.
Oh, come on, Raditz, said Kakarot, patting his shoulder. I'm sure with some hard training, all three of us can do it. Besides, some of my friends here on Earth can help us. Father's been training him up.
Bardock nodded.
They understand if Frieza ever came to this planet, it'd be game over. So they manned up. Even Kakarot's wife has been training. Are you telling me you're weaker than her, Raditz?
Raditz was taken aback by this. Did his father really think him weaker than some human woman? Wait. Where was she in that blue-haired woman? The one that had taken his scouter?
Where's my scouter? Nappa and Vegeta will be trying to contact me. I need to tell them that you're alive, father. They will be greatly pleased,
said Raditz, his tone denoting him trying to move topic.
And why haven't we heard from your scouter? Did you lose yours?
Bardock walked to a window and came back with a device that looked a lot like a scouter, but was sleeker, more cutting edge in appearance, and bore a large letter C on the side. And it actually seemed to be an improvement on his scouter's design. Raditz looked beyond his father and spotted the blue-haired Earth woman looking smugly at him. She acted like she had made that...
Wait, what? Alright, let's see,
said Bardock, turning it on.
Krillin is over that way.
He turned and started denoting everyone's location and then tapping his scouter in time.
Alright, and now for their power levels. Alright, Raditz, listen up. My power level is at 12,000. Kakarot over there is at 1,800. Your power level? 1,500, huh? Could do with some training, boy. Let's see. Tin Shinhan's at 1,000. Yamcha at 800. Krillin at 750. Chaozu's at 450. He needs to train more. Roshi's at 425. Chi-Chi over there is at 400. Well, Gohan's at 300. And for little Gohan, he's at 900. Now,
Bardock said, looking at Raditz, who was stunned.
Kakarot is always stronger than you, and my own battle power sits at 12k. I know a few beings on this rock that can help you train to get stronger. And I have a feeling that if Vegeta's still around, he'll be pretty pissed over his sun and planet being destroyed.
Raditz, a little confused, corrected his father.
No, father. The Vegeta I mean is the prince, not the king. King Vegeta was killed by Frieza. Oh. No matter. That blue-blooded whelp can join us. I have a hard time believing Nappa's alive. That idiot couldn't fight with a dam. You could throw him in a paper bag and the bag would still win.
Raditz just rolled his eyes at the Nappa commentary. It's true, the moron was stronger than him, but he was an idiot all the same. However, there was just no way they could beat Frieza like this. But...
Father,
said Raditz cautiously,
if I really did side with you and Kakarot, do you really believe that we could get strong enough to beat him? To beat Frieza? To beat Vegeta if we had to?
Bardock looked at his son, just amused at his cautious nature. But he replied,
Yeah, all you have to do is be willing to change your way of life and knuckle down.
Indeed, said old Gohan thoughtfully.
Years ago, when Bardock landed here, I made him an offer. I would aid him and Kakarot if he sought a way to atone for his life as a conquering murderer. He has, and has become stronger for it. Honestly, if you follow in your father's example, you too may find a greater strength, my boy.
Raditz just looked at the old man, and then he saw his father and brother just nodding at him. If this was true, then this was a way that would lead to him avenging his people, and it would allow him to stay with more of his kind, his family. But they would need to take care of something first.
Father, I agree to try these terms. It's not going to be easy for me to, what was that word, atone? However, we will either need to incorporate Vegeta and Nappa or dispose of them. Because if we leave them be, they will run off the freeze and lick his boots for favor.
Bardock sighed and nodded, looking at his son. Raditz was always a pragmatic Saiyan, but that had kept him alive, up till now. Either way, if Raditz was allying with him, all could proceed well.
Well, there's only one thing left to do,
Said Bardock grimly.
Raditz. We just have to kill you now.
Raditz looked at his father, stunned.
What?
Meanwhile, out in space, Vegeta and Nappa sat around the ruins of a civilization and feasted on some old rations they had looted. They were pondering what had caused Raditz's transmission to cease. Last they knew, he had landed on planet Earth. Had something happened? Had the scouter broken? Was Raditz dead? Well, their answers came as Raditz's scouter clicked on.
Vegeta! Nappa!
Raditz said out of breath.
If you can hear me, the planet's falling apart. I underestimated this planet. I don't know if I can escape. Oh, what planet?
Said Vegeta coldly.
Is it that planet Kakarot was sent to? That backwater world? Yes! Damn it! Who's attacking you?
Said Nappa eagerly.
Do you know what their power level is? The power close to 5,000.
As Raditz cried out in pain, a staticky sound came across their scouters, followed by a crunch. Looks like Raditz had been killed by someone of decent power. Was it Kakarot? Or someone else? Either way, Vegeta smirked coldly. Raditz was trash in his eyes, but as the prince of all Saiyans, he did not like his subjects being killed without his say-so.
Nappa, get ready for a trip. We're going to see what this was that killed Raditz and kill it. That bored, huh? Oh well, I could use a good fight.
Retorted Nappa as he walked toward his pod, stopping only to kick a dead body away from it.
Whatever. If there's something worth anything on that planet, we can just call it recon and tell Frieza about it.
Both Saiyans blasted off in search of Earth and Raditz's supposed murderer. Little did they know that on Earth, Raditz was staring at the destroyed remains of his scouter and space pod. Beside him stood Kakarot and Bardock, nodding with approval at his actions. Soon the Saiyans would arrive on Earth, but that soon was a year, and there was much to do. Age, 762, 1 month before Vegeta and Nappa's arrival, at Kami's Lookout. The gathered assembly stood staring at the aging Namekian and Bardock. The Saiyan, much like his sons, were wearing a mix between the standard turtle gi and the Capsule Corps branded armor. You see, in the intervening years from when Bardock offered up a space pod and some armor to Bulma, Capsule Corp went to work, and let's just say technology has hit a massive upswing. Propulsion, space travel, Capsule Corp was leading the field. And as for that armor, well, let's just say that several military officials have incorporated it. But, with that being said, the humans amongst this group Tin Shinhan, Chaozu, Krillin, Yamcha, they refused to wear the armor. They were no Saiyans. They needed to fight as humans, and as such were wearing their standard outfits. Bardock respected this and nodded at this. Bardock walked over to the group and called out,
Alright, you lot. Between me and Kami, we put you through the ringer. I made you train until you wished for a swift death, but yet here you are, persevering and standing before me as hardened warriors.
said Mr. Popo. Are you sure these maggots are capable? Yamcha cringed a bit at the casual insult.
Oh, come on, man. We finished the training. Can we stop with the insults? I know the boss man wanted us to be pushed and all, but come on!
Krillin and the others nodded to each other in agreement, but the genie just shrugged and walked off. Bardock was a harsh influence on the genie, and it showed plainly. However, the time to muse on Bardock and Popo as their drill instructors had come and gone.
Alright, line up! I want to check your power,
said Bardock, fire in his eyes. The power levels were Bardock, 15,000. Kakarot, 8,500. Raditz, 7,500. Tin Shinhan, 3,500. Yamcha, 3,200. Krillin, 3,200. Kid Gohan, 2,400. Little boy made some big gains. Chaozu, 1,300. Kami, 800.
Bardock,
said Kami.
I have the Dragon Balls on hand, and should we need them, we will have them. But I must warn you that even with your preparations, this might be folly. Do you have any guarantee that Vegeta and Nappa will listen to you?
Bardock was thoughtful for a moment, pondering Kami's words, and retorted,
Nope. I'll probably have to kill him. However, if I can get him to agree with me, then we have a better chance against Frieza.
Meanwhile, Kakarot was elbowing his older brother as he was sighing.
Come on, brother. What's wrong? We have a glorious fight ahead of us. Especially if Father's right. Are you worried? Or...
Kakarot grinned deviously.
Maybe it's 'cause you want to go talk to Launch again? Huh?
Raditz, who was indeed pondering the self-same girl and her different forms, the blonde and the blue, was caught off guard by his brother's prodding.
What? Knock it off, Kakarot! What about your woman, huh? Where is she? I thought she was against your son taking part.
Kakarot sighed, overwhelmed at Raditz's response.
I had to convince her that this was a chance to learn about Saiyan royalty. Father helped too. Same with Grandpa Gohan.
Honestly, brother, your wife scares me.
Raditz had only known Chi-Chi for about a year and was already well acquainted with her mindset and temper. It was very hard to believe that she was human and not a Saiyan. He pondered to himself that, what if she were a Saiyan? She'd probably be just like a comrade of his father's. In fact, even as a human, she reminded him very much of Fasha.
Alright, listen up! I don't know where they'll land, but they're coming. In 1 month's time, I want all of us to be checking for the power levels. Anything out of the ordinary. Is that clear?
Everyone nodded in unison, ready to fight for their planet and reassured by the big three powers on their side. And with the Dragon Balls as backup, everything was set. After all, with them safely up on the lookout with Kami, where are the odds that they would come into play? 1 month has passed, in a wasteland all too familiar with us fans of Dragon Ball. 3 warriors stood, or should I say, 4 warriors, although one was very untested. They stood as a pair of lights began streaking across the sky. Bardock stood, his arms crossed, watching, and he glanced at his 2 sons. Raditz had grown much since he arrived, despite his fascination with this bizarre human woman with 2 minds. in two forms. Kakarot, who he had raised from a child, stood proudly ready for battle. Little Gohan stood by his father's side, imitating him, and Bardock felt pride. Pride for his sons, pride for his grandson, all of them standing ready for battle. However, as they stood prepared, people arrived. "Sorry for the delay. I rounded up everyone I could," said Ten Shinhan. Standing behind the three-eyed warrior was Yamcha, Krillin, and Chaozu, all ready for battle. The human quartet would come far under his training, and the battle was soon to come. And the pods landed. But due to the large cluster of power levels and the lack of mention of the Dragon Balls, Vegeta and Nappa don't nuke the city. Instead, they fly off in search of these powers because, unlike in canon, like I said, they're not here to get some wishes. They're here to throw hands. And upon arriving, Vegeta was just a bit impressed. Just slow clap.
Well, looks like the coward fooled us, Nappa. Can I crush him, Vegeta? Or should I play with these little humans first? Alright, what was his power level again? 1500? Yeah, Raditz is Cyberman. What's wrong, Raditz? Man who can't beat a Cyberman said what?
Kakarot and Bardock just kind of looked at Raditz with raised eyebrows. Bardock, because he understood what the insult meant. And Kakarot, because, well, he'd never seen a Cyberman. He had no idea. However, the long-haired warrior just rolled his eyes at the duo, and he gave the bald warrior the most grandiose gesture of his annoyance possible. A bit of a gesture he learned from Yamcha, a middle finger.
How dare you? I'm gonna break you! What's it you think you could do to me?
Rat just smirked at the older Saiyan and told him,
Well, for starters, I can tell you to check that piece of garbage attached to your face for the flaw that it is, and then you can use your scouter.
He pointed first to Nappa's mustache, and then the scouter.
Are you? No way. 7,000?
Vegeta looked over at Raditz, surprised, and he tapped his own scouter.
Oh, Nappa, your scouter's broken again. No way. 7,000. Little Raditz coming a long way. You're still beneath me, trash. Vegeta!
He called over, ignoring their insults toward his son.
Are you the only two remaining survivors of our people?
Vegeta looked at Bardock, and he recognized him as the warrior that was always clearing missions quickly when he was just a boy. And then he looked over at Kakarot, then Raditz. He put it all together. Bardock, Kakarot, Raditz. His father had recruited him. But why? And why fake his death? What game was Bardock playing?
As you can see, this is all that remains of my subjects, my people, my servants. Well, I have an offer for you, Prince. Ally with me. Together, all of us can bring down Frieza. We just need to train together, grow strong. If I refuse,
Said Vegeta, very unamused by all of this.
What then? Then I have to take you out so you don't run off to your master and lick his boots, you blue-blooded toady.
Vegeta was very, very unhappy about this. But he tapped his scouter. He wanted to see what Bardock was working with. 15,000. Still below his 18. He looked over at Kakarot. Impressive. He looked at Raditz. Then he looked at the little boy hiding behind Bardock's leg. Interesting. There is no saying women here, so that means a half-breed? Interesting. Then he looked down at the humans, and he smiled. If they rushed Nappa, it would be game over for him. But since Bardock wanted to take them out, okay, we'll play this game. Vegeta smirked at Bardock and said,
Well, I have a counter for you. And what's that? How about I take you out?
Bardock got ready, taking a stance, ready to fight Vegeta. But Vegeta's target wasn't him. And he had no time to react as Ten Shinhan suddenly dropped to the ground, a hole in his chest. Vegeta smiled, his fingertips sizzling from the shine shot he just fired. Ten Shinhan was dead. And as this happened, Nappa launched himself at Raditz, determined to beat Raditz despite the difference in power level. Nappa was tenacious, but stupid. And Raditz, well, he took him apart pretty easily. Slamming a knee first into Nappa's stomach, followed by an uppercut, and then a kick to the chest, sending him reeling into a rock formation. KO. And for good measure, Raditz walked over and nailed him right across the face as hard as he could with a kick. There is no way he's getting back up. Or at least, that's the idea running through Raditz's mind. Meanwhile, Kakarot was staring at Tien's body.
No, Ten Shinhan!
He rushed forward to attack Vegeta.
I'll kill you!
Vegeta just smiled. And instead of rushing at Kakarot, he stood still. And as Kakarot got closer, he sidestepped, grabbed Kakarot by his wrist, and brought him straight into a knee to the stomach, winding the warrior.
Ah! Ah!
Let me tell you something as a warrior. Letting your emotions get the better of you is folly, Kakarot.
And with that, Vegeta backhands the Saiyan into a rock formation. Meanwhile, the three humans, enraged at the murder of their friend, took to the battle.
Dodonray!
Kamehameha! Kienzan!
The three attacks whistled through the air at Vegeta. However, this came on the heels of Bardock trying to stop them.
No! Get away from him! Stop!
However, his warning came too late. Krillin's attack was sidestepped. It went flying off and rendered a rock formation into a mesa. In fact, the very one that Nappa was laying in. Just a few feet lower, and it would have been one heck of a haircut. As for the Dodon Ray, easily deflected. And as for the Kamehameha, well, Vegeta used a Gallic Flash to deflect it to the side and into the path of Chaozu. The small warrior had no chance and was slain. As Chaozu fell, Yamcha and Krillin stood horrified. But Vegeta didn't get a chance to stand and smirk as Raditz came in,
Surprise!
and drop-kicked him, sending him rolling. And before Vegeta could even come to a stop, Kakarot was back,
And don't forget about me!
and landed a direct hit in Vegeta's solar plexus, winding him further. Raditz followed it up with a nice uppercut.
Take this one!
And this!
And both brothers together.
And
One of
these!
And they both blasted him in the chest with a ki blast, sending Vegeta rolling. The brothers were putting up a valiant effort together, but even combined, they were still weaker than Vegeta. He crawled out of the ground, the hole, and he just dusted them off.
Oh, so that's how we're playing things, are we? Well, the better question is, while you're focusing on me, what about him?
And before anyone could do a thing, Bardock turned and he saw something horrifying. Nappa had snuck up on him and grabbed Gohan, holding him up as a hostage.
What we got here? A brat on the battlefield. Is this one yours, Bardock? It doesn't look like ya. Maybe if I give him a little trim.
And he started powering up a ki blast. The brute was literally holding a child hostage. And as they looked on in horror, Vegeta just smirked.
You dare turn your back on me?
He lunged forward, hitting both Kakarot and Raditz in the back. And as the two brothers rolled, Vegeta kicked them away, crashing into each other and over the ravine edge. Krillin and Yamcha turned. But before Krillin could act, Vegeta grabbed him by the throat.
One down.
And with that, Vegeta snapped his neck. As Krillin's body dropped to the ground, Yamcha was enraged. He had enough.
Me!
But before he could finish the attack, Bardock quickly drop-kicked him aside. And if he hadn't done that, well, he would have died the same way as Ten Shinhan. Because passing right through that spot only a millisecond later was a shine shot. Yamcha tumbled down the slope and fell at the bottom, unconscious. Bardock looked back at Nappa and then looked at Vegeta.
Damn you both. Tell me, Bardock, that whip over there, is that your grandchild or child? Either way, it'd be a pity if he died. Then again, he'll sing a lot of people you care about die. Well, that's if you cared about these humans. Nappa, laugh at him. Right, Vegeta.
Bardock was pissed. But there was someone else even more so.
Get your hands off of him!
Kakarot lunged forward and Bardock grabbed him by his gi and his armor.
Stop, Kakarot. If you run over there, he'll only kill Gohan.
Damn it!
If worse comes to worse, we can always bring him back.
You... Father, why?
I hate to say it, but at the end of the day, we just have to stop these two. We can always use the Dragon Balls to bring everyone else back.
This got Vegeta's attention.
Explain yourself. What are these Dragon Balls? You speak as if they could bring back the dead.
Bardock looked at Vegeta.
Make you a deal, Prince. I'll tell you what they are, where they are, if you let go of Gohan.
Father, no! You can't let him have them!
It's better to let Gohan die.
However, this blatant display, this so-called betrayal, as it looked, was a distraction. Because while everyone was focused on Bardock, two warriors began making a sneak attack. And who was this? Why? Yamcha and Raditz. Teaming up, they attacked Nappa from the sides.
Surprise! Uncle Raditz is pissed!
On the other side, Yamcha appeared.
Yeah, Wolf Fang Fist!
As both warriors struck Nappa in the side of the head, he released his grip on Gohan. And the moment he did, he grabbed both warriors by the legs, determined to throw them away from him. And as he did, he launched the biggest attack he could, a Bomber DX. And as the blast washed over them, Bardock watched, waiting. And as the smoke cleared, Raditz stood, his palm out, having blocked the attack.
Well, Nappa, you have really pissed me off. All these years of you ridiculing me, and the biggest mistake was, was targeting the child. So I have something to say to you. Go to hell. Damn it, Sunday!
And with that, Nappa was the one bathed in the light of a ki blast. But unlike Raditz, he didn't have the power to survive. And with that, there was one less Saiyan in the universe. Raditz looked back at Yamcha.
Yamcha, quickly, grab the child and run!
Vegeta had enough. This was going well. All was going well until that oaf let himself get caught off guard. And before Kakarot or Bardock could react, Vegeta lunged forward and slammed his fist directly into Raditz's back. However, before the warrior could recover, Vegeta grabbed his throat from behind, planted a knee into Raditz's back, and forced him to the ground, using his body as a shield and holding a ki blast out.
Nobody move. That old fool. Well, he ruined my plan. However, let's negotiate even further. Damn you, Vegeta! How many people have to die? Oh, big talk coming from you. You are planning to kill me. I was just planning to stop you from going back to Frieza if I had to. Well, doesn't matter. And why is that? It doesn't matter, because you'll die either way. Father, go through me, kill him! Kakarot, do it! If I die, you can just wish me back to life.
Kakarot was shocked at his brother.
Raditz! No! I couldn't do it!
Bardock grimaced, gritting his teeth.
All right.
Bardock brought back his fist.
I'll wish you back immediately, son. Forgive me.
Raditz just closed his eyes. Vegeta was shocked. Bardock was going to kill his own son? Then again, that was a sane thing to do. But this sacrifice play wasn't about to happen. Raditz's eyes fell on the ground. And being the pragmatic man that he is, he smirked and fired a ki blast straight into the ground, blowing both him and Vegeta up. Surprised, Vegeta released his quarry and backstepped, leaving Raditz to lay singed in the crater. And as he lay there, Bardock's attack lanced at him, grazing his side, wounding him. But Vegeta wasn't going to let himself just take this lying down. After all, there was another target to be had, and he held out his hand.
Well, at the very least, I'll get someone of yours. Die!
And he fired off a shine shot, aiming directly at Yamcha's back. Kakarot threw himself in the way, deflecting the attack just barely. But Vegeta used that to fly away. He needed to figure out what his next plan of action was, because if all three of them came at him, even he wouldn't be able to keep up. And then he thought about it. Those Dragon Balls, they gotta be around here somewhere. The way they were talking, they had to have them close at hand. With that, Vegeta turned his eyes toward his scouter and he tapped it. He started scanning. A power level, 800, and it was straight above him. Vegeta smiled and flew off. Meanwhile, down on the ground, Kakarot and Bardock were checking on Raditz. He was pretty badly hurt, but he'd be fine. After helping him up, Bardock looked at his sons.
All right, you two. Catch your breath, and then catch up. I'm going to take out the prince if I can.
And with that, Bardock flew off. By this point, Vegeta had landed at Kami's lookout, following only the power level on the off chance. And well, today was Vegeta's lucky day, because standing there was an old Namekian man, a man named Kami.
A hermit, huh? Nice place you got here. So, tell me, you got any of those Dragon Balls?
Kami narrowed his eyes.
And what if I do? I would never even hand them over if I had them. So you can leave. I refuse to use the Dragon Balls for anyone who would take a hostage or murder. Huh. So, you're able to keep up with me, huh? You know where I'm at, what I'm doing. So, do they revive the dead? Can they make me a king?
Kami just narrowed his eyes further. Vegeta had his answer. But before Vegeta can continue, a punch caught him across the face, sending him back off the lookout.
And where do you think you're looking, you blue-blooded toady?
Bardock was ready for another round. And before Vegeta could do anything to counter, Bardock was laying into him, hitting him with every punch and kick he could. And as the duo, dueled high in the air, Vegeta, having just a little bit more power than Bardock, began turning the tide against him. And then the tides turned completely, as Vegeta caught Bardock off guard with an eye poke. An eye poke of all things. And when Bardock covered his eyes in pain, Vegeta put a hole through Bardock's side.
Gallic Flash!
Bardock cried out in pain as he fell toward the earth.
Now, immortality, here I come.
Vegeta landed back up on the lookout.
Okay, so, tell you what, you help me get my immortality, and maybe I spare them. You cannot fool me, murderer. You would still take their lives. No sale. Well, I guess you're useless to me then.
And as Vegeta went to do the same thing he had done to Bardock, two fists hit him in the stomach, flanking him. And that was Raditz and Kakarot, hitting him with a barrage of punches and kicks, trying to drag him away from the old Namekian. And with each hit, they tried to force Vegeta's guard to break. But unfortunately for them, even combined, they were not going to get anywhere. And well, Vegeta brought the fight to a stalemate of sorts. How? Well, with something he's very known for. A point-blank Gallic gun. And as a lot of them sat there, breathing heavily, wounded, and trying to decide what their next play was, we panned down to the ground. Laying in the crater was Bardock.
Oh, blue-blooded asshole. Damn it. Oh, he got a good hit in on me. Now you get back up there and fight.
Bardock lifted off the ground and began flying upwards, a trail of blood dripping behind him.
Hang in there, Kakarot! Raditz! I'm coming!
When Bardock arrived, he found the stalemate had ended, with both Kakarot and Raditz down, and Vegeta taking pot shots at him with ki blasts. Sadistic was a fitting description of this prince. Or, a better one still, a weaker Frieza. And despite his wounds, Bardock was refusing to have any more of this happen. Not to his sons, damn it.
Hey! Let me return the favor!
And he unleashed a double Tyrant Lancer at Vegeta, forcing the prince on the defensive.
Stay down, fool!
And he unleashed another blast at Bardock. And as the two traded ki blasts, they circled each other.
I will use those wish orbs to become immortal and kill Frieza. Then I will rule over a new empire as the king of all people.
And while this was going on, Raditz crawled to his feet and spotted Kami. He needed to get him away from this. Because if Kami went down, no Dragon Balls. Kakarot had a similar idea, but his eyes were on the Dragon Balls themselves, which he could barely spot just tucked behind the doorway. So while his father fought Vegeta, Kakarot ran in and grabbed as many of them as he could in one arm, and he ran to the edge of the lookout and began flinging them off the side. The brothers knew that when Bardock wore out, Vegeta would come for them. He had to provide some sort of delay. They had to provide some sort of delay. Raditz looked at Kami.
Okay, I know you don't know me that well, but I'm flying you the hell out of here as fast as possible. I know I probably shouldn't say hell to a god, but, to hell with it, we're going.
As Raditz scooped up Kami, he started to take off. Kakarot, meanwhile, remembered what old Gohan had taught him growing up.
Killing is wrong, and to do it blackens our soul. Even if our enemies must face justice, we are no judges, my boy. Do not kill if you can avoid it. While they must face justice, they must atone for their crimes. The atonement will either come through natural ways or through someone else who wrongs them. Retaliate in defense if you must, but do not kill.
I don't know, Grandpa,
whispered Kakarot throwing the last Dragon Ball off the lookout.
This man took away my friends, tried to kill my family. Does he really deserve a chance?
As Raditz was flying away, a ki blast flashed by, striking him and piercing through his left shoulder, dropping him and Kami to the ground below. Kakarot ran over and jumped off after him, barely catching both before they could strike the ground.
Brother! Kami!
Kakarot flew back up to the top. Raditz was clutching his shoulder in agony. But Kami, he was silent. The key blast had taken the old Namekian through the chest. The guardian of Earth had fallen.
Damn it! No! Not like this! Damn it!
Kakarot had enough. If Vegeta's wanting to be immortal, then Kakarot would make him immortal. In a way. Because even just a bastard like him became immortal somehow. After all, everyone became immortal in history. He took off running toward his father, but old Gohan's words continued to echo in his mind. Meanwhile, while all that had been happening, Bardock's wounds were slowing him down, and the attacks Vegeta kept aiming at him were just barely missing him. He was happy to be able to keep up, but he knew that it was only temporary. And then, as one whistled past his chest, he heard Raditz cry out in pain. He had turned, and the attack that had been meant for him had struck his son. Enraged, Bardock attacked harder, still trying to win this. It didn't matter if he died now, the prince had to go with him. Finally, he nailed Vegeta in the back of the leg, dropping him down. And as the prince dropped, Bardock hit him square in the face with a roundhouse kick, sending Vegeta rolling backwards. He then followed it up with a rebellion javelin. Bardock was holding his wounds, which had been bleeding in gusto.
Stay down, damn it! Just stay down!
He looked back at Raditz, and he saw Kami laying on the ground, dead, stunning him. As he moved his eyes over, Kakarot was running him at full pelt.
The hells?
He saw his son was mouthing something, but it was pointless because a purple light washed over him.
Gallican, fire!
And the blast overtook Bardock. However, on this day of murder and destruction, the Reaper's scythe would be stayed from the neck of the older warrior. The victim of the attack was not him, but Kakarot, who had thrown himself in the way of the attack to save his father's life. And as his body hit the ground, a fury like never experienced before fueled Bardock. He could bleed an ocean from his wounds before he would die. As Kakarot hit the lookout, another soul burned in rage and fury. Though not anywhere near the power of Bardock's, Raditz had witnessed his brother's noble last act, and he would not let him die in vain. He pulled himself together and began charging forward, determined to avenge everyone.
Tenshinhan, Krillin, Chaozu, Kami, Kakarot, I won't let this stand!
Bardock
Was just enraged. You killed my son!
The duo, father and son, burst through the smoke together and began tearing into Vegeta, his armor cracking, shattering, the fabric on his outfit tearing, his body being battered, broken. With every strike, you could hear bones cracking. You could hear the air being forced from his lungs. And with one final magnificent double uppercut, the prince was laid low. Bardock walked toward the fallen prince, his blood trailing behind him.
After all you've done, you'll see hell soon enough. Finish him, father! Avenge Kakarot! Avenge all the crimes against us! Crimes? Like you have right to judge me, Raditz. How many have you murdered? And yet you're gonna pass judgment? Oh, it's a laugh. And look at you, Bardock. How many planets have you conquered for Frieza?
Bardock had enough of this, and he slammed his boot into the side of Vegeta's head. But the adrenaline was fading, and his wounds had caught up to him. and Bardock dropped to his knees, his vision going blurry from the blood loss. And despite all this, a cough is what got his attention.
Father,
Called Kakarot weakly.
Father, where are you? Are you okay?
Bardock crawled toward his youngest son as Raditz eyed Vegeta warily, pondering if he should go for the kill. But he looked back at his brother and joined his father at his side. If these were his brother's last words, he needed to hear them.
I'm here, Kakarot. As am I, brother. Stay with us.
Did I save you?
Asked Kakarot, his vision fading.
Yeah, you saved my ass, son. Come on. You've been through worse.
I don't think I'm getting out of this one.
Come on. You can do it. Come on.
No. He got me. Promise me, Dad. Don't be a murderer like him. Don't go back to that. Don't become like Vegeta. Please. Grandpa Gohan was right. It blackens our soul. Make him atone. Please.
Bardock's tears began to flow as he realized this was Kakarot's final wish. This was his son's last words. He didn't want vengeance, like a Saiyan would, but he called for mercy like he'd been taught. Bardock grit his teeth in pain and sorrow as old Gohan's words echoed in his mind. Reform yourself. Put your life as a conquering murderer aside and embrace a new life, Bardock. Atone for the lives you have taken. And it can come in many forms, Bardock. Atonement is something that will come to all living beings if they walk the road. However, to understand what it means to atone here on Earth, you must become one with the people of this world, adopt their cultures, and understand what makes them who they are. I'm asking you to find it within yourself. To find a better way of life. Raditz was stunned hearing his brother's final plea. He wanted Vegeta to be spared? After all the lives taken, he wanted the prince to walk? No. No. Raditz looked at Vegeta. It had to end. He wasn't bound to some sentimentality like his father. While it was his brother that had fallen, he wasn't about to let it be in vain.
Vegeta! This is for my brother!
A ki blast welled up in Raditz's hand.
This is for everyone you murdered today! And for the hell you put us all through. Raditz! Let him leave. It makes me want to vomit to say it. But it's Kakarot's dying wish. With Kami dead and the Dragon Ball's gone, let his last wish be granted. Father, are you? Fine. Get out of my sight, you little prick.
Vegeta rolled up, revealing he'd been playing possum, and unleashed another Gallic gun at Raditz. Raditz quickly destroyed the attack with his very own Saturday Crash. And as the smoke cleared from the two attacks, there was no sign of Vegeta. But within minutes, Raditz saw a key trail heading off in the direction the pods had landed. Vegeta had fled, his tail between his legs. For now, Raditz would abide by his father's wishes. And looking back, his father had collapsed. The Saiyan side he had wounded to tend to. In the pod crater, Vegeta coughed up blood onto the ground and onto the side of his pod. He managed to kill a few of the people on this planet. They're warriors. But Bardock, him being alive was a surprise, especially Raditz turning on him. Judging by the wounds he had inflicted, Vegeta mused to himself as he hit the door release that Bardock would be dead soon enough. He collapsed into his pod, and he thought to himself, if Raditz still alive and him alive, that's 2 left. Oh well. Dragon Balls, were they? If the Namekian that made him here was dead, why not go back to his planet for more? And as the door closed, Vegeta thought about the parting words of Kakarot.
Atone. Fool died for nothing.
And one last button was pressed, and the pod flew off for a Frieza base at emergency speeds. Later, at Mount Paozu, Chi-Chi cradled Goku's body, weeping over the loss of her husband. And old Gohan, greatly saddened at the death of his adopted grandson, tended to Bardock's wounds, finding a Senzu bean and using it to save the Saiyan's life. Bardock was alive, but unconscious. Meanwhile, Raditz stared out a window and clenched his fist with rage. He should have just gone ahead and finished Vegeta off, despite what Kakarot's dying breath had called for. As Raditz clenched his fist, blood dripped from it. Meanwhile, Yamcha was keeping Kid Gohan busy, trying to hide the boy away from the horrible truth of what had happened. In Yamcha's eyes, he'd been useless. Worse than useless. Not for Bardock, he would be dead too. To make it worse, he had been used to kill Chaozu. He wouldn't be able to look the man in the eye in the afterlife. And there was no way to even bring them back. Kami was gone too. However, a knock came to the door. Old Gohan went and answered it, only to be met with Mr. Popo, who stared grimly at the old man. Gohan gestured the genie inside, and everyone gathered to see what Popo wanted.
All right, listen up. Kami is dead, stated Popo. However, on his home world, there are more Dragon Balls.
Home planet?
Asked Bulma.
What planet and where is it?
A place called Namek. It's located on the other side of the galaxy. I can show you to the ship Kami came here in. It'll have coordinates in it,
Replied Mr. Popo.
So, Kakarot can be brought back? He can be revived?
Said Chi-Chi hopefully.
Yes. However, the journey there will be long. I advise acting soon. I will return in 3 days to retrieve you.
And with that, Mr. Popo departed, leaving the people inside hopeful, looking at Kakarot's fallen body and Bardock's unconscious one. They still had a chance, but to take it, they needed to get stronger, and Raditz knew it. He had been too weak to do much of anything, and that had to change. All of them had to change. Meanwhile, somewhere out in space,
Dragon Balls?
questioned a person in a chair.
What a bizarre name. And they grant any wish?
Yes, my lord. That is the intel I received from Vegeta's scouter transmission.
Very good. Set a course for the planet that the Creator hailed from. Planet Namek.
Yes, sir, Lord Frieza.
Immortality will soon be mine,
said Frieza with a cold smirk. And with that, we bring part 5 to a close. I know this one was a little bit long, and yeah, we got ourselves a body count. However, the next stop is Planet Namek. But that will be for a future video. So that said, if you enjoyed this What If content, then please leave a like. Comment down below what you'd like to see next. And if you have yet to, I implore you to subscribe. and you see that bell notification icon, well, you need to tap that thing so you'll be alerted when new content is made available. You could consider yourself part of the notification squad. And I know that YouTube has gotten a bad habit about not having every video come to people's notifications. So feel free to check back whenever. With that said, please let me know down below if there's any what if you want to see, or perhaps you would like to tell me what you think should happen next. And with that said, people, I will see you all in the next video.